so that's going to lead us into our topic of the week, which is our annual Reds preseason preview and prediction show. So this we're going to go through and give our players of the year, comeback players of the year, rookie of the year, all the stuff that we have done in the past with some unique names tied to Cincinnati. And, then we'll have like our most important position player. And then we'll also talk about the over-under, make our predictions on the Reds season here. And I know we've got, normally this happens the week before opening day, but we've got, 2 weeks till opening day, a week and a half till opening day. And I think the Reds have 33 in camp. The big news yesterday was Will Benson being sent down. Francona said that he talked to Will. He was the first one in the office of cut day, talked to him for a long time, saying that, they both agree there's a good player in there and he just needs to go down and find it. And, thoughts on the Will Benson demotion? Any thoughts at all?
It's kind of expected for me. I kind of figured he'd be the odd man out. Partially just his history with Francona. I mean, Francona was the manager at Cleveland, optioned him to AAA, and then they ended up trading him to us here in Cincinnati. So, I mean, I figured, I don't know their relationship necessarily, but I kind of figured he'd be the odd man out again.
Yeah, I mean, he's been playing quite a bit in spring training, so I think Tito gave him the chance, and he hasn't done enough to stick. So, last time he got sent down to AAA, he figured some things out. So there's nothing wrong with doing that. I mean, last year he should have been sent down multiple times.
Right.
So they just don't have any outfielder depth. So
no. And speaking of outfield depth, the other lacking piece of depth, injury news, the injury bug hits Cincinnati again in spring training. Tyler Stevenson is on the IL. Probably might miss the first month of the season with a minor oblique strain.
Air quotes there with the Reds training staff.
Right. We saw this 2 years ago with Matty McLean, had an oblique injury and tried to play through a little bit, took off a little bit, came back, and then next thing you know, they shut him down for September, hoping that he would heal. And being a catcher, it's not as, I guess, you still are doing a lot of rotations, throwing, swinging, those type of things. It's not like a pitcher, but it's a blow. And right now, Trevino, I think that was a good pickup by Nick Kroll, because Trevino is a Gold Glove all-star caliber catcher behind the plate defensively.
He got banged up too the other day.
Yeah,
I didn't see anything with that. Did you?
Yeah, he said he is perfectly fine. He said if they would have allowed him to play, he would have played yesterday. Just a foul tip off of his thumb, I believe, and he's fine there. So, the backup catching situation, the two spots that we've talked about here on the show is lack of outfield depth and lack of catching depth. So, thoughts on the injury to Ty Steve and what, where are we going to get that production in the lineup?
Yeah, it sucks because I think he was one of our better hitters last year, more consistent guys. Really the production's going to be replaced by CES. I would hope so. That's kind of the immediate, because Trevino's not going to replace him offensively. You can't really rely on the guys you had last year. It's going to have to be CES having a bounce back year, I would think. At least at the, hopefully you can get off to a hot start, the first month, just to replace what we lose in Stevenson.
Yeah, Trevino's not the hitter that Stevenson is. He's probably a better defensive catcher, so pick up a little bit there. But I think this team, last year, well, we struggled defensively as well. But so,
yes, we did.
I think Stevenson. I think another, coming this year, I have high hopes for him. Be one of the top players on the team. So, I think they need him back. I think they, having a two-headed monster at catcher is good. Maley, they was just not good last year, period. So, so they need him back. And, if he's out for a while, I think that's going to hurt him quite a bit.
Yeah, the backup to the backup, Austin Wins.
Right,
probably.
who's not even he's not major league caliber.
No. And then you got Trotwine and some other dude.
I'm sure there's some 36-year-old. Tucker Barnhart's probably hanging out somewhere.
Well, Luke Malley might get cut.
Yeah,
and he might come
he's
back,
probably still hanging out. Yeah,
something like that. Because I think he's with the Diamondbacks, or no, he's with Kansas City.
Yeah, I was gonna say he got picked up by somebody.
Yeah, and if he gets released, I mean, we're not going to get.
He's making a big league roster. No way.
I mean, who knows? But yeah, it's I just hope they don't rush Tyler back. And that's probably the most important thing. I think Francona even said that is like, we got to keep Tyler from Tyler. That's the most important thing, because with these oblique injuries, and this is what happened with Matty, right? He felt good. He could go out there, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to go out there," and then 2 days later, it flared up again, and it got worse. So you got to make sure that he's 100%. And really look at being on the cautious side with him. Let him go 4 weeks minimum. Get him back around May 1st, and you still have got plenty of the season to go, and that means Trevino catches, 4 out of the 5 games each week, or 5 out of the 6 games each week, and Austin Wins catches 1. 3 games, 4 games total, something like that. And then we can, get Ty back and move forward. All right. And I guess the last thing we need to talk about before we get into our predictions is the 26-man roster. Who makes it? I mean, and I think for me, it's going to come down to one thing, that 5th outfield spot, and whether that's Fairchild or if it's going to be Herbices or Dunn if Spencer Steers starts the season on the IL. Thoughts?
No, I agree with you. I think Fairchild, him having no options is, gives him a leg up. So I think if he had options, it'd be, potentially different. But I'm guessing he'll be the 4th outfielder, or he'll be slotted in. And then without Steer, I assume Dunn or Hurtubise will be your 5th, right? I mean, they'll pick up even one of those guys.
Yeah.
I have no idea who, because I don't want either one on the team. So
no, Herbert.
So I don't know. So I don't know him.
A good spring, right?
Well, Martini had good spring.
So.
Yes. Martini had a good opening day.
Yeah, he did.
Right. One day out of 162. So
it was better than Mike Ford's days.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't matter to me who those last guys are, because I don't think any of them are. I don't think any of them are really major league caliber outfielders. I don't think Fairchild is major league caliber. So I think the Steer injury, which I don't even know if he's even outfielder. He's not a very good outfielder.
No.
So I mean, they're talking about Lux playing in the outfield. He's not very
Lux
good.
will be playing.
Espinal. I mean, he's not an outfielder. So I think you're giving Tito the same issues. I think he's going to have to mix and match guys that are either not major league players or definitely not major league outfielders, but are going to take up some time, which to me is not good. I think it goes back to the one thing that, the one major glaring issue they had from, the offseason was not picking up another real outfielder.
Right.
They got Hayes, okay, but with Steer's injury, now you're back to where you were. So, they needed someone else, and they didn't do it. So now we're stuck with guys who aren't major league players.
There we go. All right. So that takes us into our Cincinnati Reds 2025 awards prediction. So our first one, since we talked about injuries here, is the Corky Miller Comeback Player of the Year award. So Sam, who do you have? I'll type it up here for us. So Sam, who do you have?
I'm going with CES.
Okay.
I think he's going to bounce back. Pencil him in for 30-plus homers.
All right, 30-plus homers. I'm going to write that down. Because you know why I'm writing this down? Because last year I had him for something. The MVP, and I said 40 home runs. And he might have gotten 40 at bats.
Yeah, 40 at bats.
And maybe 2 hits.
Yes, exactly. One was a home run, though.
So I have,
Carly.
if I'm next, I have him as well. I'm not predicting 30 home runs. I mean, I'll be happy with 15. I'll be happy if he gets, 400 legitimate at bats. He hits 250, 15 to 18 home runs with his first real year. But yeah, I have him as well.
Okay, wow. I was thinking you were going to go a different direction. The same direction I went. I went with Matty McClain for my comeback player of the year. I just think he's going to be that missing piece that we didn't have last year. So there we go. All right, our next.
Is he going to lead off? Just side. Is he
second.
Going to lead off?
Second,
Friedel.
I think Friedel's. Yeah, I think it's.
I mean, so far that's what it's been.
Yeah. And Francona did say Ellie is batting third.
Yeah.
All right, so the Big Donkey Sabermetric Award winner, Carly, who are you going with?
I have Ellie, stat stuff and everything, including errors. But he'll there's probably nothing on the statistics that he won't. I'd love his walks to be higher and strikeouts to go down. So that to me is the biggest question is that. But so I have Ellie. I think he's gonna have a really good year.
I thought long and hard of Ellie as well, but the strikeouts and the walks were the two things I'm like, that could hurt him in this category. So I went with Matty McClain again there, just because I think if he's going to be the comeback player of the year.
I mean, you could have him be every offensive category as Matt McClain. You probably could.
You could. So that's who I went with. Okay. Sam, what about you?
Debated changing this with the recent news, but I'm going to keep it at Tyler Stevenson. I think he's going to draw a lot of walks. He doesn't strike out a whole lot. When he comes back, I think he's going to be the number 4 hitter, so he's going to have a lot of RBI opportunities. Defensively is whatever, but sabermetrics are more offense. And I think he's going to have really good counting numbers on the offensive side.
Okay, moving on to our next category. And we tweaked it a little bit, but we're doing the Spud Sabo Rookie or Newcomer of the Year.
Oh, we did? So I have only a rookie, okay.
Yeah, so rookie or newcomer, because I don't think there's any rookies on the...
Well, you could pick a guy who's going to start out in AAA or the minors and move him up. Okay, well, that changes my answer. It's fine. You go first. So, I'm not first.
Yeah, I'll go first. So my rookie / newcomer of the year is Jose Trevino. I just think that, we're already seeing the value of him as far as, moving into that starting role behind the plate. And I just think that the pitchers are going to love throwing to him. And I think he's going to do a nice job holding down the fort until Tyler Stevenson can get back.
I'm going to go with Brady Singer. I think just being a middle of the rotation guy, I think you can pencil him in for 30 starts. He's just going to bring some consistency. He's not going to be dominant, but he's not going to be bad either. I think he's going to be a good, solid number 3 starter. And, they need that. They need somebody that's going to make 30 starts, get him 180 innings. You don't have to worry about his arm health, stuff like that.
I don't know about that. The last three Royals pitchers we had didn't pan out. And it seems like every time we get a pitcher, highly talented pitcher that comes to Cincinnati, they have arm issues that very first year. So let's hope that doesn't happen.
We're not expecting him to be the guy. I think that's the difference from the last couple of
You are correct. You are correct. Crawley.
Well, I changed it just now because I was thinking it was rookie. So I have two guys. I would have loved to have said Gavin Lux. I think he's really good. I think we're not going to, but he's really good for a team that can actually use him at second base, and which is what his position needs to be. Mm-hmm. And so he's going to get. I think he's going to be more limited than what I would hope he would be if you know. So I think in our situation, I'm going to go with Austin Hayes. I'm hoping he's the best outfielder on the team. So I mean, he's of the outfielders of our biggest weakness from last year. He's the one pickup they made. So if he doesn't do it, I'm very concerned about the Reds not living up to what we're hoping they're going to live up to.
All right, moving on to our Mario Soto, most valuable pitcher of the year. So Sam, who do you have here?
I'm going with the same guy I did last year, Hunter Green. He's, the quote-unquote ace. He's got opening day this year. I think he's going to make another improvement off of what he did last year. Yeah, I mean, that's all he's got to do is just stay healthy. If he makes 28 starts, I think that's what they need to get out of him this year. If he can do that, he's got a real good chance to be an all-star and get some, 5-6 place Cy Young votes.
Nice. All right. Crawley.
I went Hunter Green as well. I figured there's no playing around with this one. Just, he's the best talent. He's the, most upside of anybody. So I agree. If he's healthy, we have a potential Cy Young, at least top contender.
It's a clean sweep. So Hunter Green, here's looking at you, buddy. Bring it home. All right, moving forward are Brandon Drury. You won't be here by the All-Star break, MVP. So, Charlie, you lead us off here.
So I didn't go with the obvious one here. I actually went with Matt McClain just because I think he's not going to be the best player on the team, but I think he's the most important player on the team because they had gotten nothing from him last year, and you saw what happened. We got a good version of Ellie last year, and you saw what happened. So McClain's going to be the difference maker. Ellie's going to be great. He's probably really the MVP, best player on the team. But I think if I'm talking the most valuable player, like who's in terms of wins and losses, is going to be McClain. He needs to be 2023 McClain and even better. And that's where they're going to get their wins from, is him being borderline all-star.
Well, I went with the obvious for me, Ellie. I think. Everything you say about Matty McClain, I agree. And that's why I had him as the comeback player in the Sabermetric Award. But I just think Ellie, with his speed, his power, he is working hard on cutting down the strikeouts, and his walk rate is going up. I think he's just going to be a force. And if we can get the batting average up a little bit, walk rate up, and his strikeouts down, he's on base more. I mean, you could look at, a 30-100 guy, right? I mean, you could. So that's where I am going with Ellie De La Cruz. Sam?
Going with Ellie as well. Because I think he's going to be the best player on the team. I do agree with Crawley. I think McClain is going to be the X factor. If he has a good year, you couple that with Ellie, I think we're a really dangerous team. McClain's just kind of I think we're closer to that 500 mark. So I think McClain's the X factor, but Ellie's still going to be the MVP. I think he might even get some actual MVP consideration.
The next award we have is the Pedro Borbon Rubber Arm Award winner. This one was a little hard for me just because I know our bullpen is almost set, but it's not quite set. And this is where, depending on who our fifth starter is, and how long that fifth starter is there. So I went with something that I knew was reliable and who pitched a lot for Bell, and they brought him back. Brent Suter is my rubber arm.
Yeah, who's the other lefty? Is it still Mole?
Mole, but he's. I think he might be. I don't know if he's injured or he had a flare up.
He just hasn't pitched very well.
He has not pitched very well at all.
Yeah, Suter's gonna be working a lot then.
Yep.
I went a little bit different direction. I'm going more who I think will be a swing type pitcher. I'm going with Graham Ashcraft. I think he's going to take over the Martinez role of last year. I think he'll start out as a starter, but I think once Lauder, Abbott, those guys are kind of ready to go, they're going to look between Martinez and Ashcraft who they can move to the bullpen. And I think it'll be Ashcraft that they end up moving, but I think he's going to be a guy they throw 2-3 innings out of the pen a couple times a week. So I think he's just going to he's going to eat up a lot of innings out of the bullpen for us, I think.
All right. Charlie?
Yeah, I considered Suter, but I went with Taylor Rogers, I think, or Tyler. Which one do we have? We have Taylor, right?
I don't remember.
I said Taylor, and then I'm like, wait a minute, there's also Tyler. I don't remember. Whichever one it is. Here, I got their depth chart.
It's not the submarine guy, right?
It's the right. It's lefty.
It's Taylor. We have Taylor. Yeah, we have Taylor. So I'm going with him. I mean, they got him. They got him in a, a trade. He's for multiple years now. He's pitched a lot out of the, for whatever team he's been and been a closer even. So I think he's, to me, the most important guy in the bullpen because if Diaz struggles,
that's what
Rogers becomes your potential closer. And if he's not any good, then we're in trouble. Back to being in trouble. So I'm going to go Tyler Rogers. Whichever one it is.
You said
Taylor.
But yeah,
it is Taylor.
So that is, that's the question, right? Because Diaz has looked horrible in spring training. Yesterday was just
one out, 5 runs.
Yeah, and couldn't even get out of the inning, and it was bad, right? It is bad. 2 innings pitched, 18 batters faced so far in spring training. Is he our closer? Is he going to be our closer, or is Francona going to say, Rogers?
You could do it by committee too, is whether it's more righties or lefties coming up and all that stuff. So
that is true.
Maybe they don't designate a closer for the first month of the season.
Right, and I like your thought process on Ashcraft. I thought about Ashcraft there as well.
I think long term he moves into that role.
I do
maybe
too.
Not this year.
I think if Diaz and Rogers struggles, then you put Graham at the back end.
Yeah.
I think he has enough. He has the stuff to be a back end closer.
I think so too. I think just for him personally, that makes the most sense for his career.
Right.
That I think it makes the most sense to help this team long term is if he's a elite back end of the bullpen guy.
Okay, so that leads to our next category, which is our SOB, which is the Son of Bob Executive Coach of the Year Award. Sam, who do you have?
I'm going to go with Tito just because, it's pretty much the same roster that Bell had. So we're going to find out if it was Bell's fault or the front office's fault. I think we're going to see that real quick because we know Tito is a good manager. He's proven that, whereas Bell had never proven it before. So I think we can kind of put to bed the Nick Krall versus David Bell decisions here, and we'll have a definitive answer come July on that one.
Crawley?
Yeah, this one was easy. It's Francona. So Sam said everything we need to.
Yep, it's a clean sweep there. All right, moving next, the Luke Weaver Not on My Fantasy Team Award. You have honors there, Crawley.
Might be a little bit surprising, but I went Alexis Diaz. I would not want him on my fantasy team right now. Matter of fact, I had him on my fantasy team last year, and I traded him away. Because a 5.60 ERA does not help my fantasy team. So I'm worried about him. I know he was terrible last year. As much as people wanted to say that he really wasn't that terrible because he had 17 straight saves, but saves are again, that's like one of those kind of statistics that kind of covers things up. It's like wins and losses almost now. He always had guys on base. His whip was terrible. So I'm worried about Lex Diaz. I think that's part of why they got Taylor Rogers. I think that Scott Barlow guy, because they're worried about him as well. And then he doesn't even get a full spring training in because of his hamstring, whatever the issue is. So I'm not picking him up on my fantasy team to start the year.
Okay. I went with one that might shock everybody. I don't know, but I said Stu Fairchild.
That does shock for you.
That's
not shocking at all, but just for you it is.
Shocking for you. Coming out of your mouth.
That's what I said. It could be shocking to all our listeners out there. They know how much I like Stewie. But yeah, he's not going to be on my fantasy team this year. So sorry, Stu, if you're listening.
Yeah, I think mine's going to be a little surprising too, but I'm going with Spencer Steer. He didn't have a great year last year. Now he's got the injury bug early on. I think it could take a while for him to get up to speed, start really being productive. So, just from a fantasy perspective, it's somebody you probably want to stay away from. Maybe wait until he's actually proven himself a little bit.
Okay. The second to last category is our Mike Minor League Player of the Year award, and to me it has to go to one of the two pitchers, one of the three pitchers that are down there, and this one is probably going to be their AAA probably the longest, so I'm going to say Chase Burns as mine.
So I went with as well. Okay. I think his stuff is going to play really well in the minor leagues. He's got that fastball that, it's an elite fastball already. It's just going to be his secondary stuff, is how quickly is he going to have full command over those. And that's going to determine when he's finally up in the big leagues, if he gets a chance this year. If it's not until next year, it's going to be that secondary stuff.
All right. Charlie?
Yeah, I actually wrote Chase Burns, but just to be different, I'll say Chase Petty. He has thrown some nice innings already in the spring training. So, I think, 2 years from now, you would hope Rhett Lauder, Chase Burns, your rotation would be Green, Lauder, Chase Burns, and Chase Petty, and then whoever the leftover is from that. That's pretty, so looking forward to, potentially having that as a, starting rotation.
All right, and our last one is our Dr. Teddy Kremchek IL Award winner. Where are we going, Sam?
This guy's going to get a three-peat from me here. It's Nick Lodolo. Until he proves otherwise, that's the name I'm going to choose every year that he's on the team. So,
Crawley?
That is a good one. That's what I went with last year and probably the year before too. But I'm going to change up just because I'm worried about a guy he didn't suffer this injury in spring training. He suffered it during last year and played through it, and it did not help him. And he still has it. I just don't get how these major league players with major league training staffs and all the best doctors in the world and all the best scans and all the best whatever PT in the world, and they still don't get better. And so it's Spencer Steer. I'm concerned. It's been going on all this whole season. Is it going to be something he's going to deal with the entire year?
Yeah, that's a good one. The one that has me worried right now, Ty Stevenson with the oblique injury. That's who knows how long that's going to take. But I went with Nick Lodolo as well, just because somewhere along the line he is going to end up on the IL, and
it's just a 10-day and he misses a couple starts. Like it is what it is. But,
right, but
I don't. Has he made 20 starts in his career yet?
He might have last year.
I thought he got 21 last year. Maybe, maybe.
Even that's missing 10 starts out of your number 2. So
right,
11 starts. So
all right.
if he makes more than 22 starts, I'll take it back. I won't choose him next year. But anything under 22, you can just go ahead and pencil him in.
Well, if he doesn't make 22 starts this year,
if he's even on the Reds, yeah.
I was going to say he may be traded next year. I mean, especially with these young bucks coming up.
Because you don't want to pay arbitration to somebody that's always injured.
Right. So the position player, who are we going with there, Crawley?
I'm going to stick to what I said about the MVP, even though I know Ellie's the best player, Matt McLain. I'm talking most important for winning, not just best player on the team. We had Ellie at a pretty high level, and we won 77 games last year. McLain's going to be the difference. He's going to get us to the numbers that we want. Ellie is the best player, but McLain to me is the most important from the standpoint of wins and losses.
I looking back, I mean, I had Ellie there, but I really think this is a stretch, but I'm going to say TJ Friedel, and the only reason is because if he gets injured again and he has or if he just has a crappy year, we don't have any outfielders like you said earlier. I mean, our backup center fielder is Stu right now. There's no one
Hayes.
down. Yeah, but Hayes.
Austin Hayes would be your center fielder.
You think so?
If Friedel struggles, they would move Hayes to center, I would think.
Then who's going to be our left? Gavin Lux will be our left fielder then, full time.
Lux yeah.
Or they bring Will Benson back up.
Or they bring Benson back up. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's hardly no.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's not a good situation.
No. So that's why I think he's probably, as far as positioning, the one who can't get injured this year, and he has to have a decent Friedel year, right? All right, Sam, who are you going with?
I'm going with McLain. All the reasons Crawley said, and like I said earlier, he's going to end up being the X factor. He's 290 hitter, 20 home runs, 80 RBIs. We're going to be a really good ball club.
All right, and that leads us to our last category. It's the Reds record. Vegas has not bumped it up at all. It's still sitting at 78.5. So the question is, are you going over or under 78.5? And what is our record going to be after 162 games? So Crawley, I'll let you lead this off.
Well, I'm not going to be the most optimistic of the three of us, so I'll keep it at that. I'm going to go 84 and 78. So
okay, so you're going over.
Oh yeah, I know we're all going to go over, no doubt of that. But okay. I'm sure 84 wins is not going to be the highest of the three of us. I think there's still too many question marks. Outfield is still very suspect. Our closer is barely a closer right now. So.
Sam?
I'm a little more optimistic. I know I said earlier in the winter, 90 wins.
Yes, you did.
I mean, it's not looking great, but I'm going to stick to my guns here. I'm going to say 90 and 72. I'm going to make a bold prediction here and say we're going to play 163, so we get 91 wins officially. It's because the Centrals, I think the Pirates are going to be better than you think. I don't think they're going to be in that 90-win category, but I do think they're going to be better. I think Cardinals will actually be the worst team in the division this year. So that's a separate bold prediction, I guess.
Wow. I said Francona's going to, it's good for at least 5 more victories than what Bell had. And I went, believe it or not, 84 and 78 as well, Crawley.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, that's and the issues, the Ty Stevenson, still don't know, our back end of the bullpen type of piece. Just don't know the sophomore slumps, right? McLain and CES. Yeah, I'm hoping, CES hits 25 bombs or more, and McLain comes back to how he was prior to missing an entire year. But, you still got to play, and you got to play well. And, I'm banking on 84 78, get us a wild card, and then who knows what will happen there.
One person we didn't mention and his name never came up this entire podcast, is actually the highest paid offensive player on the roster, which is Candelario.
Offensive Candelario, yeah.
And we didn't even talk about him. That's telling you something right there. That's poor money. That's not good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he needs to be significantly better than he was last year.
Yep.
I think he's another X factor. I mean, he's the highest paid player on offensively.
He is an X factor.
He should, if he plays like he did last year, 84 and 78 going to be the ceiling.
Yeah, that is true.
Now, the one good thing about Tito is I don't think he gives a crap about what you're paid. So if Candelario is crap, then he'll be DHing and riding the pine for a lot. I think David Bell would never do that. So,
right. All righty. So that about wraps us up. So let's take a look at that one more time. We all have us going over the 78.5 from Vegas. So make sure that if you'd like to put a little money down, a little wager on that, go ahead and go to your favorite sports book and do that. You can get some good, decent money on the Reds right now. All right, so that's a wrap for this episode of Cincy Sports Scene. Thanks for tuning in and being part of the conversation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment with your thoughts and let us know your Reds predictions and who you've got also in the Final Four. So please follow us on the social medias at Cincy Sports Scene and send in your trivia answers with a chance to win. We'll be back in 2 weeks with a special episode breaking down our top 10 Reds best moments of our lifetime. And you don't want to miss it. So until next time, everybody stay tuned and we'll see you soon. Take care.
See you later.